Welcome to assignment number 5, which is my game tutorial. For my game, I use Game Maker Studio 2. Before we get into the actual running of the game, I want to briefly go through some of the steps I had to go in order to build on the game. So in Game Maker Studio 2, I had to create what is called sprites. Basically, before we create the object, we have to create a sprite, and after creating the sprites, I had to create an object in order to give the sprite itself animated functions. So I created my sprites, I added the player, the enemies that I wanted in the game, the tiles I wanted to choose as the background, even the bullets that the player is going to be shooting. All those things need to be added as sprites before. Then after, we create each one into an object which the code will go into. So I'll go into my enemy 1 code. As you can see, I had to create 3 different aspects of the code. I'll briefly explain what some of them mean. HP basically mean hit points for this enemy. So in order to destroy this enemy, you would need to hit him 3 times. The speed, basically 1.5, is basically the speed at which the enemy would move on the game. This next option here, step. In the programming code, basically this if statement, it creates the instance of an object player. It allows the player to move on the y-axis and the x-axis. Basically, you have to capture that in an if statement, which will allow the object to move on the screen. This next if statement basically tells you that when the hit points is less than or equal to 0, the enemy basically is destroyed. With the object score equal the score plus 5, that tells us that every time that enemy is destroyed, there's 5 points awarded to the score. The audio song pitch here, the range tells us, it gives us a sort of echo of when the bullet is fired from the object, from the player. Sound shoot tells us the sound the bullet makes when the key is pressed. As I mentioned before, the instance destroy is captured within the if statement, and it occurs when the hit points is less than or equal to 0. One of the other things I created, the object player, which is the player that you'll be playing in the game. There's a whole line of code here. Basically, these if statements capture when the player goes to the right, when the player goes to the left, when it goes up, when it goes down, the angle point of direction, when the mouse is moved, as here. Also, when the left click on the mouse is pressed, it allows you to shoot the bullets from the object. The cooldown basically describes the rate at which the bullets is fired. It allows you a pause between the shots being fired. This line of code here, basically, as I tagged, it keeps the player in the grid. But when the game is run, you will notice that the player is within an arena. This line of code prevents the player from leaving the arena itself. Okay, so this is the title screen of my game. I named it Monster Survival. The basic concept of the game is to see how long you can survive without any of the monsters touching you. You have 1 life in the game. As the monster touch you, the game ends. You have to, Okay, so this is basically the title screen of my game. I named the game Monster Survival. The basic concept of the game is to see how long that you can survive without any one of these 3 monsters touching you. As soon as the monsters touch you, the game ends immediately. Hit start to begin. Okay, you are the shooter. player can move anywhere within the arena. He's not allowed to exit any of the boundaries. If he goes close to the boundary, it would allow the player to leave. As a player, let's go again. As the player moves to the right, you see that the wow. So again, as the player moves to the right, you see the camera angle is actually following the player across the screen. The concept of the game is to actually keep moving because the enemies, they spawn randomly in the arena, so you cannot stay in one place because they can spawn right below the player. So this is basically my game, Monster Survival. I'd like to thank you for watching. I hope the tutorial has been informative. Thanks.